Swimming in the Rain is the fourth episode of Kirstie Alley's Big Life, and I really enjoyed this one. There's a great variety in this, and some really moving moments as well. So, as always, there will be spoilers as I talk about what happens in this and share some thoughts along the way. And it starts off establishing the main theme for this, and this is the fact that Kirstie is fed up that every week or however often they're weighing, she always seems to lose half as much as Jim does. We have to establish that Jim is heavier than her, so that is going to happen. But it can still be really disheartening. And she is determined to lose more than him in the next weigh-in. Will she be able to? I really like the sense of competition between them. I think competition can really encourage a lot of people to work out more if that's what they're competing against. But I think it needs to be friendly competition. And this is exactly what we have here. And Kirstie decides to go on a girls' trip with Kyle and Kelly and Lillie, and Jim stays at home with True, and it kind of goes back and forth between the two. We get to see Jim and True moving a branch, which was actually a lot more entertaining than it sounds, and it's also raining, and I love the rain, and the rain is so, so beautiful. We do obviously spend more time with Kirstie and the others, and there's a lot of variety in the activities. And something I've mentioned before, and I'll mention it again, is that Big Life really helps to show that there are different ways of working out and there are different ways of getting fit, and it's not just the same routine over and over again. And I think that that's really important, particularly if you get bored of doing the same exercises. This really helps to show that there's a great variety. We also see Jim working out, and obviously he's doing different things to Kirstie in this particular episode, and I really like that. I think that that worked really, really well. We do see Kirstie getting a massage with Kyle, and they have a really interesting conversation there. And then we have a really moving conversation. Kirstie and Lillie are getting, I think, pedicures, something like that. And Kirstie asks Lillie if her obsessing over her weight and focusing on this so much is affecting Lillie. And I think we see something really deep within Kirstie there, that yes, she wants to look good, but she's also kind of really affected by how she might be affecting her children. And it was an emotional moment. It's brief, it didn't take up too much time, but it helps to show that there's more to this than just the weight itself, which I think is really important. And then we have a cooking class, and we have some healthy food that looks rather delicious. And again, this is all part of making things interesting. When you're trying to cut calories, food can be really boring, but it doesn't have to be. And here we have an example of what looked like a rather delicious meal. And then we have a metaphor. And Kirstie is meant to be going hiking with the others. She's supposed to be there at 6:30 in the morning, which sounds like an absolute nightmare. And nobody else turns up, so she has to do it by herself. But this was actually really interesting. We get to see her climbing this hill, and the scenery is absolutely stunning. Really, really beautiful. But she points out to herself at one point that it's her hill to climb. And this is, I think, really important for two reasons. One, you can't expect other people to be doing the same thing as you. She's the one who needs to do all of this workout, and nobody else wants to get up at 6:30 in the morning. So maybe it's not fair to make other people do that. But at the same time, it also helps to show that you have to show up for yourself. She could have easily thought, okay, nobody else is getting up, I'm not going to bother either. But it's really important to show up for yourself and do things for yourself because you want to, because you want the better health or whatever it is. And I think that it was very moving and certainly an important moment. I'm sure Kirstie would have preferred it for everybody else to have turned up like they'd agreed, especially as apparently it wasn't her decision to go hiking in the first place. But I actually think it was the better option, and certainly made for a pretty nice metaphor as well, and I rather liked that. She then does cycling underwater with Kyle, which looks agonising, and I kind of want to try it. I don't like being in water, I don't like swimming, but it does look kind of fun and painful. If anybody's ever tried it and knows what it feels like, please feel free to let me know, but it seems like it would be very, very challenging. We then have a rather delightful scene, and it's Jim and True at a video store, and as a film fan, I just loved the conversation between them. It was really good fun. It was a little bit random, but it was nice to see a video store or a DVD store. I do miss them. And then everybody goes home, and it's time for the weigh-in, and I so desperately wanted Kirstie to have lost more than Jim, and unfortunately she didn't. But she did lose £6. Now, I don't know how long there is between the weigh-ins. Part of me wants to say a week, but I feel like that's kind of a lot. £6 in a week is a lot. So I'm wondering if it's maybe every 2 weeks or even longer. But whatever it is, losing almost half a stone is brilliant. And Kirstie, as she said herself, was deflated. And that can be the danger of competition. I think, as I said at the beginning, having some friendly competition is really brilliant, really beneficial. If it motivates somebody, that's fantastic. But at the same time, if you start to compare yourself to the other person's successes too much, as we see with Kirstie, she was really disheartened, and all of the efforts she made weren't for nothing, but she didn't succeed in beating Jim. So in her eyes, at least it seemed, she hadn't succeeded, even though she'd lost nearly half a stone. So it is disheartening to see her feeling that way, but I hope that in reality, when the cameras were off, she was able to recognise that actually she'd lost half a stone, nearly half a stone, and that's fantastic. And she did say to Jim, good job, Jim, as well. So even though she was hurting, she was still supportive of Jim and allowed him to celebrate his own achievements as well. So definitely a lot of food for thought in here. Some really great variety in the exercises, a lot of really great motivation. As an episode, it's well edited, everything's well put together and well presented. And I think it's the strongest episode so far. Out of the 4 we've had, there are still, I think 8. I'm sure there are 12 of them. But I think Swimming in the Rain is so far the strongest, my favourite, perhaps the most moving and motivational, and ultimately, I really thoroughly enjoyed it.